Now, it doesn't make any sense that a person who has as much testosterone as a man should once in a while get one, but talking to doctors when you're transgender is a lot like calling the cable guy when you have a Mac, right? The internet guy. They're like, I don't know. And then they charge you. So when my girlfriend sat gently on the side of the bathtub, looking at me like I was somehow pregnant and she was the father, saying, how did this happen? I figured there was no point in trying to explain it logically. I figured I should just tell her a story, right? So I told her a story that I heard. When the earth was still flat, and the clouds were made of fire, and the mountains stretched up to the sky, sometimes higher, folks roamed the earth like big rolling kegs. They had 2 sets of arms and 2 sets of legs. They had 2 faces peering out of one giant head so they could watch all around them as they talked while they read. And they never knew nothing of love. It was before the origin of love. And there were 3 sexes then, and one looked like 2 men glued back to back, called the children of the sun. And similar in shape and girth were the children of the earth. They were like 2 girls rolled up in one. And the children of the moon were like a fork stuck on a spoon. They were part earth, part sun, part daughter, part son. Now the gods grew quite scared of our strength and defiance, and Thor said, I'm gonna kill them all with my hammer like I killed the giants. And Zeus said, no, you better let me use my lightning like scissors, like I cut the legs off whales and dinosaurs down into lizards. And he let out a laugh and he gathered up some bolts. He said, I'm going to cut them down the middle. I'm going to split them right in half. And then storm clouds gathered above into great balls of fire. Light. Oh, come on. Crap. Oh, well. And then fire shot down from above like shining blades of light, and it ripped right through the skin of the children of the sun and the moon and the earth. And some Indian god sewed the hole up into something to remind us of the price we paid. And Osiris and the gods of the Nile gathered up a big storm to throw us all away and scattered us away in a flood of wind and rain. And if we don't behave, they'll cut us down again, and we'll be walking around on one leg, looking through one eye. Now, of course, that's not a story that I made up. It's written by John Cameron Mitchell and Stephen Trask. Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which, by the way, is a really fantastic movie to watch when you're a man who's PMSing. And all that happened was so simple. She just looked at me and said, do you need anything for that? She didn't fuck up this blue moon moment with earthly words like pad or tampon, right? And I say, oh no, I'm fine, and I got what I needed, and I did what I needed to do with it. And then I went back to bed, and there she was, with a hot water bottle and a box of chocolates. And we sat in bed all day, and cramped, and read, and complained. And that was one of those moments where I'm so glad for these conversations. And for the people that I'm with, I should say. How are we doing for time? We're good, yeah? We've got like 15 more minutes. So yeah, I got some more stories. Please.
From the trans community, what's the perception of people who choose to go through surrogate and people who choose who don't?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I don't actually have a story about that.
Oh.
All I'm going to tell you is that we make hierarchies of our own, so that, you know, someone who has gone all the way, right, is considered to be the best person that they can be, because they approximate most, you know, they are the man or woman the most that they were always supposed to be. And that's partly a self-perception, and it's partly one that we carry out on each other, right? I have to say, like, I love going to conferences for trans folks because I feel at home, and I also hate going to conferences with trans folks because I see people looking at me, and I realize that just the fact of my being able to walk through the world as someone who looks like a man, who very much is a man on so many levels, but who passes, makes other people that I care about deeply feel bad. And feel not enough. So it's a real problem.
Do you think you ever do want to have top surgery?
I do think about it. Right now it's really convenient because to not have had it, because I can do things like I just did in this room, and I'm wearing a binder shirt. It's a very tight shirt, so actually my breasts were flatter than they would be if I were naked. But by taking off my clothes, and aside from the vulnerability factor, it's really this thing about saying to you, I can tell you all of these stories and I can talk as much as I want, but you're really not going to get it until you see what's going on. And it's really fun to watch people be like, maybe when I stop doing this work, whenever that is, I'll, because I would really like to walk around with no shirt on and not have to even feel self-conscious about it.
Well, like, why is it that you were, like, okay, you were talking earlier about the intersex and how parents sometimes choose to change without. Is that like what happened with you?
No, but it's what I thought happened with me. Because one of my earliest memories of figuring this out, I was like 7 years old, sitting in the bathtub going, somebody must have cut off my penis. That's what happened here. This is what the deal is. And the deal was with my parents, oh, and I do have a story for this, good. The deal was with my parents that if I had been born male, I would have become my father's, like, property, right? Like, he would have taken me, because they were divorcing when I was born. And so everybody was super, super glad that I was born a girl, except that my mother reports throughout her pregnancy, she thought I was a boy. She called me by my boy name, and she was just like, ready to give up. And there I was, and I was like, what I really thought was, I bet my grandpa did this to me. She was like especially pleased, you know? But how can like a 7-year-old know what sex change is? Okay, but here's a better answer to your question. And since we are having issues with the pain, let's see about this. No, that's not it. Oh, thanks. Great. Doctors want to know exactly what makes a person transgender. They hypothesize a rush of hormones at the wrong time, brought on by stress perhaps. I believe it is sheer will. Yes, embryonic me imagined life infinitely more interesting as a trade between soul and body, and so here I am. I was not born in the wrong body. My father fooled around with a 19-year-old woman at a crucial moment in my fetal development. My mother caught them in the middle of it, wrapped around one another like baby twins. Call it a rush of blood to her head. I bathed in the trickle-down of emotions when she kicked him out. After their breakup, my father broke into the family storage space, filled with the treasures that he and my mother had saved for their new life as parents. For the time when they could afford to move out of their trailer and into a house together. My mother had taken their money for me, and so he took an axe to all of their things, slashing sundresses, shredding photographs, cutting their shared possessions in half. Imagine embryo me inside my mother walking into that chaos. Can you feel the hurricane flood of betrayal over love, hot anger and deep sadness rushing in torrents of estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, over baby me, cleaving gender from sex, body from self? There was no room in my mother's life for another man, only me, and so unable to escape the cascade of confusion, I swam as best I knew how. Trauma or no, I believe I would have been born transgender no matter what body I'd been born with. Drama or no, inside or outside the womb, I am my own life, and mistakes are better understood as lessons to be learned. Girl in boy's body or boy inside a girl, call it fate or biology, will or spiritual choice, but I was not born in the wrong mind.